Avery Friedman in Cleveland, and halfway across the Pacific Ocean, Richard Herman in Honolulu. Okay, gentlemen, strange case. Guy admits to killing the ex-wife of his ex-legal partner, and meanwhile, the victim's family is suing the killer's mother and grandmother. How is that, and why is that? Richard?
It's because the attorney is trying to be very creative and trying to get some bucks. It's a great, it's a creative argument. It's used when you want to sue a dog owner, whether that dog has a vicious propensity to bite. That's usually the standard. So he's trying to apply that standard here. It's creative, it's interesting, but it's not going to work, Gary. This case is going to be dismissed.
I do need to mention that Richard is on Skype, and that's why he's a bit dark right now. So we apologize, but your words illustrate everything perfectly, so we can see you in that sense. Avery, do you agree? I mean, is this a really legitimate thing to go to court over?
Certainly, if the lawyer is playing on the emotions of this tragedy, yes. But the idea of creating an expectation is pretty pretzelized. I actually don't think it's creative. I think it's bad faith. I think it's offensive, and I think the court will clearly dismiss this. Number one, because generally there's no legal duty for one adult to be responsible for another, and secondly, the general rule is that an adult is not responsible for the criminal behavior of others. I think it's a poorly motivated case. You understand the suffering of the family, but there is absolutely no basis for it. This case has to be dismissed.
I mean, that's something we need to point out. It's so sad and tragic. I mean, this family lost a daughter and a sister.
You have to feel for this family, sure.
But are there ever situations where adults, family members of criminals can be found responsible?
Yeah. If, for example, you are a guardian and you have certain responsibilities, that would be it. Or if there's a statutory obligation created by a legislature. But other than that, Gary, this case has to go. Unfortunately, it's not going to alleviate the suffering, but it's got to be dismissed.
Okay, on to another topic, gentlemen. Public libraries. A U.S. appellate court has said that sex offenders have the right to use libraries in the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, the mayor of Albuquerque wanted to kick sex offenders out of the library, but the rule has gone against him. So I'm wondering, Richard, does that surprise you? Do libraries have the right to keep out people who they don't want?
I was a little surprised at this, but what the court said was it's just too stringent. You can't do a broad scope. All sex offenders can't come to the library. So give some provisions where they can come, and then you should be okay. The mayor has already allowed the sex offenders to come, but they're going to now enact additional stringent measures. We'll see what happens if they limit the time and scope and place. I don't know if it's going to work. Looks like more litigation to me, but the mayor is fed up, and so he made a move.
I mean, where this all stems from is there's a lot of big city mayors who are concerned about people who hang out in libraries because anyone's welcome in there. And the mayor of Albuquerque said, he sent a letter to sex offenders on the list. You're no longer welcome in the library. What's another way that you can deal with that, Avery?
Well, I think that this case was absolutely unnecessary. Martin Chavez, who's the mayor of Albuquerque, had a very simple way of dealing with it. Have sex offenders registered, restrict their mobility in the library, but no, he does a carte blanche. A federal district judge ruled it's unconstitutional. Every American has the right to information, and a 3-judge panel last week affirmed that. So that means Albuquerque, Gary, is spending tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that should have never happened. You can control it in a less restrictive way. This case should have never happened. Frankly, shame on Albuquerque.
All right, so we move from Albuquerque to California. And this is a case over the host of The Tonight Show, Jay Leno. He's been sued over a joke he cracked about Mitt Romney. He's been sued by a Bakersfield, California man offended by a joke about a sacred temple that Leno told in his Tonight Show monologue on Thursday, January 19th, so a little more than a week ago. But first of all, let's take a look at the joke.
You know, the other day they did a behind-the-scenes look at all the presidential candidates' homes and where they live. Quite revealing. Take a look.
Here's a look at some of the GOP candidates' homes, their cribs.
They're impressive. Newt Gingrich has a 5,200 square foot estate in Virginia.
Ron Paul put his 4-bedroom ranch house in Texas on the market.
And here's a look at Mitt Romney's summer home on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire.
Okay, well, that home in quotes, is the Golden Temple. That's a very holy Sikh site in India. So that's what the suit is, that the man in Bakersfield is saying that this is blasphemous, that this was done. So what I want to ask you, Avery, first of all, is there a basis for a man like that to win such a lawsuit?
You know, every year, Gary, we assemble the 10 dumbest and worst cases of the year. This will absolutely make the case. There is no basis for a claim. And to give you an idea how misunderstood this is, an Indian official has contacted the State Department and asked them to intervene. There's no basis. This is protected speech, and the case absolutely will be dismissed in court.
You agree with that, Richard?
Gary, the lawsuit claims that Jay Leno is spewing hatred and inviting ridicule by that little clip. The only ridicule is the fact that this lawsuit was brought. That's the ridicule.
That's
Satire
right.
is protected speech. This lawsuit is ridiculous. They need to chill out, these people.
I mean, Jay Leno's job is to crack jokes.
They need to be sanctioned.
That's good. You do think they need to be sanctioned?
Yeah, I think they should be sanctioned. We're seeking punitive damages here. They need to be sanctioned. Yeah, this is a ridiculous lawsuit.
Sure.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it. Gentlemen, Avery Friedman, Richard Herman, it's been wonderful talking today. I've enjoyed it very much.
Gary,
yes.
Gary,
Wonderful to be with you, Gary. All the best.
All the best to both of you. And I got to say, Richard, have a great time in Hawaii. Mahalo for talking to us, and aloha to you. Aloha to both.
Mahalo's right. Mahalo's right.
Gary, on the beautiful island of Kauai, there is a place, Ta'imu Hut. They watch CNN, you, Fred, and Avery, the legal guys, religiously every week in Kauai. Unbelievable.
As they should.
I don't doubt that for a second.
As they should, Richard, as they should.
I agree, as they should. Gentlemen, thank you very much for talking to us. Well, now we want to update some of the cases that Richard and Avery have talked about very extensively. We talked about country music star Garth Brooks just last week. Case closed. A jury awarded him $1 million, saying an Oklahoma hospital violated a contract by not building and naming a women's clinic after his mother. Brooks donated $500,000 after his mother died of cancer in 1999. Case closed in a brutal home invasion case in the state of Connecticut. A judge has now sentenced Joshua Komisarjevsky to death. He and another man killed Jennifer Hawk Pettit. It was an absolutely awful story.